It's still a 12-team playoff in college football, for now at least. So it's time to unveil my top 12 teams, beginning with 10 through 12 today. And guess what? Just 3 days until college football kicks off this Saturday and 246 days until the NFL draft. Mensch, you good?
I'm good, man.
You know you are. Let's roll. Spent a summer watching tape. We did quarterbacks, we did Caleb Downs and defensive backs, we did Jeremiah Love and running backs, we did top defensive prospects, we did Clemson's defensive prospect, we did all of this stuff, NFL draft related. But we're finally here. 3 shows a week. This is actually show 2 of the week of this week. We got 3 more shows next week. We have week 0 mixed in and starting on Saturday, but then week 1 kicks off and we're full go. Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live. It's our version. The live show, live stream. Check us on YouTube. You can watch it after the fact. Obviously on Spotify. You can listen to it on Apple, wherever else you download. But we're in the middle of it now, Mensch. And so like we gotta shift the focus a little bit to college football. And there's 12 teams in the playoff, as I mentioned off the top. So instead of doing a top 25 and racing through, I wanted to, and I know you want to dive in. Like, let's really get a little deeper than most people do on some of these teams, the top 12 teams. Teams are right now, we're saying like we like their chances better than the rest to be in it and in the mix at the end to play in the college football playoff, right? So we're going to do our college football power rankings for the next, 4 shows. We're going to go 3 teams a pop. Today is 10 through 12. Okay. We're going to start at 12, go down to 11, down to 10. Then we'll be back on Friday and do 3 more teams. Okay. That's how it's going to work here. Mensch, before we get started, get your trusty notes out. Tell the fine folks who've been supporting this show how they can continue to do so.
Go to YouTube, search the McShay Show. You're going to hit the subscribe button. Then you can do a thumbs up and thumbs down for each video. If you don't want to get in the comments, if you want to be more specific and you want to yell at us about specific things, you can leave a comment or you can be nice. That's nice too. We have a lot of supporters, which is cool. Go to Spotify, hit the follow and hit the alert button so you know when a new show comes out. You know, like Todd just said, we have 3 shows this week. That's not something we usually do, but even when you're getting busier, kids are going back to school, you're going to want the alert button to know when a new episode drops. Go to Apple, hit the follow, but also hit the automatic update button. So you don't have to worry about being connected to Wi-Fi to get it. It will already be there on your phone when you want to go get it. You can just easy access. And then also consider subscribing to the McShay Report, which is there's still a free option, right?
Still a free option. We got a lot of good
content. Still the free option. Put down the money though. Get all the good stuff. It's not. I know it's a lot to ask. I know it is.
It is.
But what you pay for is worth it. I promise you. And then you want to follow us on the socials. He's at McShay13. I'm at You Good Mensch. That's MUENCH.
And give us 5 stars. 5 stars. 5 stars.
Just hit the thumbs up. Why not? You know,
on Apple though, you can, or I think it's Apple, right? You can rate the show.
Oh, is it? I'm still dipping my toes in the Apple stuff.
5 stars. We're also having our first live show ever, the McShay Show, going live on the road. I'm going to remind everyone until we're there. September 10th is the day. Okay. Lincoln Hall in Chicago. What a beautiful city. We've got the hotels booked. We've got our flights booked. Mensch and I are sitting next to each other, flying that bird on into Chicago. I can't wait. So September 10th. Tickets are on sale right now. What are we doing? Like Mensch has a following, folks. Draft Santa. Look at him. My man's got a following. This place is going to fill up. At least I hope it does, or else it would be an embarrassing night. I've got my sister coming in, my brother-in-law. I've got family members and friends. Yeah, so there will be some people there. It may just be family and friends. No, get there. We're going to have fun. We'll announce who our special guest is at the show. We'll talk you through what's going to be happening in that show. We'll obviously hit some Chicago Bears. We'll hit Big Ten, Notre Dame, all of it. But all the information you need to know is go to theringer.com/events All the info's there. TheRinger.com/events. You can also Google it. You can find it, on my social media and Mensch's social media and everywhere else. So please be a part of that. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're excited. And yeah, then you mentioned the McShay Report. Google it. You can subscribe for free. You also can become a premium customer. We obviously would love that, but just Google it and subscribe, and you'll get all the content. Monday was the quarterback tiers. Today we're going deeper dive in print on these teams that we're talking about, the rankings. And as I promised, we've changed our view on things as we get going here. I'm only going to bother your inbox if it's something you need to know or really want to know. We're going to react to news, things happening. We're going to take you deeper in and give you, whether it's sourced information or from our tape study. So that's all you need to know. All right, Mensch. It's not only exciting that we're doing our college football rankings, right? We got our power rankings coming up in the next 4 shows. You know what else is exciting? We've got a new partnership. And a
Very cool
partner that believes in us. And I know from experience, I believe in them more than anyone else that's similar in their field out there. And it's with Home Depot. The Home Depot is now a sponsor of our show. And it's time. I mean, we're going to start right away. We're going to do a segment each show for a little while here with the theme of renovated. Okay. And I can't think of a better program to do it with than the one we're going to match it up with today. Okay. So it's time for our very special segment, the first of them, called Renovated. It's brought to you by our friends at the Home Depot. Let me tell you something about the Home Depot, Mensch. Just a side note. This is not in the script or anything like that. I know you seem like I get this nice little set behind me. I'm always talking football. I'm wearing this cute little pink shirt today. I get it. Like, you probably have a preconceived notion about me. But you know what you didn't know about me? I got off of a show in June, and Marissa's got 4 tons of pea gravel dumped in our front lawn. We're renovating the outside. Outdoor shower, walkway.
Ooh.
Yes. It was like this
very nice
swampland. It was like a cesspool out back. We would like throw some stuff there that we didn't want people who visited the house to see, like some tents or like a golf net. And we decided, let's make it into a nice spot. Outdoor, come home from the beach. We got our beach chairs hanging up, or tent, or this or that. It's all like hung up. It's now you got pea gravel to walk. The kids with their touching feeling. So I'm lugging in, shoveling, raking 4 tons of pea gravel. Then we planted. Marissa did a beautiful job. Planted. Basically it's like Athens, Georgia. Now we got the hedges lining it, and some plants and flowers behind.
You got to put some photos up, man. I want to see this.
I will. And you know what? The first thing I did when I walked out from the show and walked downstairs, before I started shoveling that gravel, I drove to the Home Depot.
Right.
Got all sorts of tools. I had to have wood cut. They have in the back of the Home Depot, they cut up the wood specification for the outdoor shower that we built. They had all sorts of things that I have no chance of doing this huge renovation on the outside of my house that now has become like my escape. I go take an outdoor shower, not for a bad visual here, but like at night with looking up at the stars. Just me.
You kill that outdoor shower. You're always in that.
I haven't showered inside since we put it up. Not one time. And I plan to shower outside the entire year. But then, but also on brand for me, Mensch, is I forgot like 4 things when I was there, right? And you know what they do? They have delivery. Go to homedepot.com/delivery. They delivered it to me. I was like, oh. Because I thought it was another 35 minutes. I live on the coast. It's hard to get anywhere. I thought it was another 35-minute drive. I went online to look to make sure they had the product. And it's like, click right here. They'll deliver it. Okay? So that's my experience. What's the connection to college football and what we're doing here in the McShay Show? Well, just like the Home Depot, they can help with you, getting your house in shape like I had to, no matter what the season is. College football programs, we're seeing it now more than ever, right? Transfer portal, NIL, college football programs across the country have used the offseason to retool, reload, rebuild, just like I did with our outdoor shower in the swampland that was, and now is an oasis. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at a team that nailed it this offseason in their makeover. That's it. All right. So like that's what we're going to do here. And I talked about we're doing 10 through 12. We're going to start at 12. And 12 for me in my rankings. And the beauty is I made you, and you're a man of your word. You had your own top 12. So as we go through this, I don't want you to give away some of the other teams that might be in or out, but I do want you to tell me where you think I'm dead ass wrong or where I'm not. But Oklahoma, when you talk about the theme of renovated, I want you to think back to a year ago, okay? 6-7. Brent Venables' third year as the head coach, coming in from Clemson and then Oklahoma previously, defensive coordinator. Pressure is now on in the fourth year, but you look back to the third year. Defense was a top 20 unit.
But the defense was not the problem.
But the offense, self-admittedly, when you talk to, I now have like good sources, Oklahoma, when you talk to people, like self-admittedly, historically bad offense. Injuries were insane. And every team, every program can complain about injuries, but you can't complain about them at the level that Oklahoma had last year, okay? And the kicking game was brutal on top of all their offensive woes, okay? So they only had 2 players drafted in the NFL, but they were like foundation guys. Danny Stutzman, right? The inside linebacker, who was like just all over the field, the leader of that defense. The Saints drafted him in the 4th round. Also in the 4th round, Billy Bowman, who we both love.
Oh, right. Yep.
But knew there were physical limitations. He's a safety who gets drafted 118th overall by the Atlanta Falcons. So they wind up in the same division. So those 2 guys are gone on the defensive side. But you get 16 returning starters. And not just starters necessarily that were at Oklahoma last year, but guys that started in college football last year. And that's part of this renovated theme that we have in conjunction with the Home Depot. 8 starters on each side of the ball. Because of this, and we're going to dive into the deep and the why. Because of this is like, if I had to pick who's your sleeper team, like who's your team that is talented enough, they're right up there with any other program in the country to make a rebound. 6-7 last year, okay? We talked about the offense being the problem. Lost 2 key guys, but still a really good unit that returns 8 starters, and a kicking game was a nightmare. So what did they go out and do to renovate? Their wide receiver core. Let's start. Well, you know what? Let's start with the NFL draft prospects because that's our backbone here.
Okay.
I'm going to make this statement, and I want to get your response. I think they have right now on the hoof 4 players that I consider to be top 100 prospects in the NFL draft coming into the year.
Okay.
And a minimum.
Who you got?
Mateer at quarterback, who outside, and I said it on our last show, and we'll get to Mateer in a minute, but outside of Arch in Texas, John Mateer's transfer from Washington State to Oklahoma and what that could represent for this program is the storyline in college football. Those are the top 2 storylines for me.
Got it.
Then Jaden Ott, who everyone kind of forgot about. He's a top 100 prospect, in my opinion, at the running back position.
Banged up last year, great 2 years ago. Super talented. I'm with you so far. I got you too.
Then Deion Burks at wide receiver. That's 3 now, top 100 players from an offense that was historically bad last year by Oklahoma standards. And R. Mason Thomas, the edge rusher. NFL scouts are salivating over this guy. Day 2 prospect. That's 4 guys in the top 100. They had 2 players drafted last year, none of them in the top 100. Stutzman was 112 overall. Bowman was 118.
Yeah. I mean, top 100, we'll see. I don't hate it. I'll tell you the other one I like because of where he went. Is smart is the Western Carolina offensive tackle, Derek Simmons, who's going to play for one of the best offensive line coaches in the country, and Bill Biebendo. You're going to – I'm interested to see what he gets out of this kid because this kid moves really well. He has had some problems staying healthy, I think, over the last few years. He's missed some games, but Derek Simmons, the right tackle, is a name to keep an eye on, especially how it ties to this team because, look, last year the injuries were really an issue. They gave up 50 sacks, which was the second most in the FBS. They averaged fewer than 4 yards per carry. The offensive line is going to have to play better, but I really think they will. I mean, you're looking at, again, Bill Beebendo is one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. They're going to be healthier there.
You could argue
They're
the
really
best.
good at, yeah, you could easily argue the
Uh-huh.
best. And they bring in a talented transfer in Derek Simmons who moves super well. The guy redirects and pass pro really well, zone blocking really well. I think that's a big addition for them. And then Jacob Sexton is the left tackle who's coming back. The offensive line has a chance to be way better than it was last year, and that's going to allow your Jaden Otts, your Deion Burks, and of course your John Mateers to do their thing, which is really, that's the ideal situation. I do want to ask you something right now.
Okay.
These are power rankings, right? These are the 12 top teams you think they're the 12 best teams going into the season, right? These aren't guys, because you brought up the playoff. These aren't teams that necessarily this isn't the 12 teams you think are going to make the playoff, correct?
No. And I'm glad you brought that up because two of the teams we're going to talk about today, including Oklahoma, and we'll get to their schedule and we'll get to the next team that we're going to talk about, their schedule, or the next two teams. FanDuel probably doesn't have them.
They're not in the coaches poll top 25, by the way. They're first ones out.
You know what drives me crazy about all these polls? It's as if these egotistical sons of bitches think that people are going to go back and look at their rankings and be like, oh, do you know that this guy from the Post-Gazette or wherever said that he had the Oklahoma going to the college football
right? There's no risk, right? No gamble.
It's like, I'm not analyzing the schedule. I'm analyzing the program, the personnel, the fit with the coaching staff and the scheme, who the head coach is and what the leadership is. That's what this is about. I look at Oklahoma with the addition of Mateer at quarterback, with the offensive line improvements, with the addition of Jaden Ott, with all the portal guys that Jim Nagy and that group brought in. Nagy, the former executive director of the Senior Bowl, comes in as the general manager, which is the new trend in college
great
football.
Hire by them, by the way.
A phenomenal hire.
And that's not because we know Jim. I mean,
no.
Look at, if you think that's because
Kevin
of that,
Kelly was a great hire by
Bowl.
Clemson as their GM.
Yes.
There's certain people that understand the NFL game and free agency and salary cap and what it takes to evaluate players and projecting them from one to the next. They're much more equipped, and they're not having to be involved necessarily in like the recruiting and all the high school stuff. They're much more equipped to look at what one player is in the FCS or at Washington State. Look at the scheme you're running. That's what you do as a scout or a director of college scouting or an executive director of the Senior Bowl, and the relationships, so all of that. So obviously no two players that were brought in to renovate, as we stick on the theme, no two players were more important than Mateer being number one and Jaden Ott. Mateer, we just talked a lot about him in the last show on Monday. Mateer signed up for this, man. It tells you a little bit. I told you, we went through and we did a whole show on him early in the summer. And it was the most viewed show of any of the shows that we did this entire summer, including the Manning Passing Academy that got a lot of buzz too.
It's crazy to me. I love it, but it's crazy to me.
Because college football fans know, and college football fans, some of which were chasing a bad day of gambling, were watching the late night games and having their heart pound through their chest. And it was an experience unlike anything else. And you talk to NFL scouts and it's the same thing. But what I saw was up by like 24 points in the fourth quarter of a game where he could have just run out of bounds. This guy's breaking tackles, stiff arming guys and racing down to the 2-yard line. He's fast.
Awesome.
He's got legs, like a lower half of a fullback. Everyone that I talked to at Oklahoma is like, this guy is the deal. He's better than what we thought we were signing up for. We knew the tape. We talked to coaches. We didn't realize. And he brings Arbuckle, the offensive coordinator, with him. And while the system isn't necessarily like scout friendly for the NFL, it's productive.
Yeah.
And last year was a nightmare for Oklahoma Sooner fans that like any football fan want to see a little offense. So I'm fired. I mean, he's 65% in Washington State last year completion percentage, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But now, and let's go ahead and say it, now he's got this gauntlet. And we're going to find NFL scouts get to see and I said it the other day, sit back and just pop the popcorn and watch the tape. Because the tape is going to tell you did that work because they weren't playing the SEC? And if it works here, it's probably going to work in the NFL like it did for Baker Mayfield, like it did for Kyler Murray. That's going to work. This is he 1 year free agent. Where can I go in this country? Because he had a bunch of offers. Where can I go and prove to NFL scouts, my mechanics are kind of all over the place. Yeah, I play a wild brand of football. Where can I go show them that it'll work in the NFL? Here's where. For an Oklahoma program that plays Michigan and Auburn at home, but Michigan and Auburn in September, this isn't like last week's Auburn. This is a pretty good
Auburn's
Auburn.
Good, man. Yeah.
Then this murderer's row starting with that rivalry game on October 11th against Texas.
I think that's my favorite early season game or mid-season game.
Yeah.
That shootout game. So
no question. Then after Texas, you know what the break that they get? A little break. South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, and LSU to finish out the regular season.
At South Carolina, at Tennessee, at Alabama. I mean, again, I would tell you that I like that South Carolina team a lot. I thought they should be in the mix here, but playing at South Carolina is different than hosting.
And I got
South
news
Carolina.
for you. The networks ain't going to allow that to be a noon or 3:30 kickoff.
No, not especially if they play Texas tough. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the season unfolds. But what's interesting to me about this pick, which I really like, is if you told me that this team ends up not being bowl eligible because of the schedule, it wouldn't be the craziest thing that's ever happened. And then if you told me this team made it in the playoff, I'd be like, wow, everything went right and watch out. Because if this team somehow gets into like the playoff mix, that means they navigated that. And if they were able to navigate that and they were able to figure it out, watch out. One of the things I love, I'm a Brent Venables guy. I'll say this too. And I think he was 6-7 last year. Is that right? And then he was 6-7, I think his first year at Oklahoma.
Okay.
He was 10-3 with Dylan Gabriel with the win over Texas in the year between. Yeah. So just 2 years ago, they were playing the Big 12. I get it. They're going to have to adjust the SEC. All the SEC fans are like, yeah, that's Big 12 ball. Give me a break. They, for all the problems they had last year, ask Jalen Milroe how good that Oklahoma team was, because it was a nightmare for him, that game. So when you look at that defense and you look at Brent Venables, I think he's going to be a very good head coach. One of the best defense coordinators ever to put on a headset. I mean, he's been unbelievable. You look at some of this team is, the more I started, I was like, I'll be honest with you, I didn't have him in there. And then I started doing the research for this, and I was like, God damn it, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to figure it out. Like the receiver they got, Giovanni Gibson, who's from Arkansas Pine Bluff. I'm like, what's this kid about? Like Arkansas Pine Bluff. I throw on the tape, and I'm like, this kid's sneaky. He's a pretty good route runner. He's a pretty good player. Like, what was he doing at Arkansas Pine Bluff? He's a guy that I think could come in and be one of those small school kids. Again, the Western Carolina offensive tackle, same situation. These small school kids that are going to come in and surprise people that they were in those programs, because they got some talent, man.
Let me give you some inside information. So if you're an Oklahoma fan, even you may not have some of this, okay? I'm just going to rip through some notes that I got from talking to some really trusted sources. Giovanni Gibson's one of them, 6'2", 216. Like, they also added 7 transfers. You talk about Nagy, you talk about renovated, you talk about the Home Depot, including Isaiah Satenga. 7 at wide receiver, bud. This is 7. This is a group that had 5, their top 5 wide receivers. So what happens when you got a swampland out the side of your house? You tear it down, you rip out all the muck, and you dump 4 tons of pea gravel, and you get to work with the Home Depot tools, okay? They've got Giovanni Gibson to go with, I already told you, top 100 prospect in Deion Burks. So now you got
who wasn't healthy last year.
Right.
And he's another guy. Yep.
Okay. And Burks averaged 12 and a half receiving yards during his 2 years at Purdue before transferring to Oklahoma, and one of the 5 guys who dealt with injuries last year. Isaiah Satenga, 13.3 yards per catch at Arkansas last year. 3 highly productive FCS guys. They brought in some cats.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you got Mateer, you got Ott in the backfield with them. You got all these wide receivers, whether they're brand new or they're finally first full year, hopefully healthy. Okay, offensive line, awful last year. That's what someone inside the program said. Self-admitted. Awful. We've got the best in our minds, and I don't disagree. Look at the track record of what Biedenbow has put out to the NFL. I want you to go back and look at it. You talk to any scout across the country, he's the guy you trust the most, developing the guys to come in the NFL. Was not at the level last year. 3 new starters. Okay? Here's what I'm told. The Stanford guy from the portal.
I heard this too.
Early day 3 right now. But keep an eye, he's good. A lot
of buzz about him.
2 true freshmen. Okay? Listen to these names. Michael Fasusi.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan Foje. Fasusi could be left tackle starter, and Foje, Fodje, Foge maybe, right guard. All right.
Interesting.
Biedenbaugh thinks they're the best young ones he's ever had. Tell me where else you're going to get that information.
And that's the guy, Coach Creed Humphrey, right? I mean, he's had some dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I tell you a transfer that I think of all these transfers? Really quickly, can I interject? Do you want to finish your inside info? Because there's a guy that I'm interested to hear if you heard anything about him, who I think is a sneaky under the radar for them because
offense
of all the other guys
defense?
they got. Defense.
All right, I'll get to my defensive notes, and if it's not in here, then you tell me.
Okay.
They added a proven stud kicker from UTSA. I don't even know his name. I'm just going off the notes I'm getting from this source. Okay. So we talked about the offense was historically bad. Kicking game was and I remember watching Oklahoma being like, I think
they added a punter and a kicker, but yeah.
But the kicker apparently has been awesome in fall camp, and he's everything that they thought he was signed up to be. Okay, defense last year, top 20 nationally, top 6, I think, in yards allowed per game, whatever. Great defense, good enough defense to legitimately make a run in the SEC. If their kicking game and their offense wasn't so bad. 8 starters returned from this defense, bud. I know they lost Stutzman and Bowman. But they think that this is a top 10. If it was top 20 last year, they think this is a top 10 defense. I'm a Venables guy, man.
Love Venables.
I've sat in so many meeting rooms with Venables and talked ball with him. He nearly knocked me out after the end of a Clemson game when he rushed the field. He still tells that story every time I walk in the room. He was so excited. He thought I was a fan, and he went to high-five me, and he wound up elbowing me and almost knocked me out cold. But beyond that, his schemes are the perfect combination, Venables are, of gap sound, with absolute insanity. It's like a perfect blend. The effort they give. And the effort they gave, remember in some big games last year where the offense is a turnover back on the field, and they're goal line stands and grinding it out. That's what you're going to get. And BV's calling the defense. Okay. This defensive line is deep, and they actually think, and a couple personnel people I've talked to, this might actually be the best D-line group in the SEC.
Wow.
Think about that.
I'm hearing a lot about the defensive tackle, Grayson Holton, who's coming back, but he's supposedly a dude.
4 deep they've got at linebacker with legit starter level players. Secondary might be their best overall position group.
They have the best defensive line in the SEC, and the secondary might be the best group. That's interesting. I mean,
they think this defense is going to be astounding.
Wow.
Okay. 2 breakout defensive guys to keep an eye on, I'm told. All right. Taylor Wein, Wein.
Okay.
And the other, both edges. Okay. And Danny Okoye.
Interesting.
So mark those names down. Taylor Ween and Danny Okoye, breakout guys. In addition to, obviously, the All-SEC. He was a second-team All-SEC pass rusher last year, R. Mason Taylor. Love that name.
Yeah.
They say they're getting calls every day from the NFL, okay? I already talked about him, R. Mason Thomas. R. Mason Thomas is a top 100 prospect, okay? So there's going to be a ton of pass rush heat, and in that weather, SEC, the depth of the defensive line is so critical. Like, that's huge. So who do you got? Did I not?
Marvin Jones Jr., man. Marvin Jones Jr. from Florida State, who never really reached his potential at Florida State, 2 seasons there. But he's another edge. So it's interesting that you brought up all these other edges and no one and he wasn't mentioned. Makes me think a little bit, but he's a talented dude. He never put up the numbers that I thought he would put up at Florida State, but there are flashes. He's a guy who can come screaming off the edge. He's got a little bit of speed to power to him. I thought that was a great ad for them. When you're looking at all these changes on offense, they bring in this edge from Florida State who, again, hasn't put up the stats, but the tape is much better than the numbers.
All right. So that wraps it up in Oklahoma. We know the schedule, but I'm telling you, this team might be the most underrated from a personnel standpoint in all of the country. And a lot of it has to do with Nagy, Venables, their recruiting. And
Can we mention Arbuckle and Mateer, by the way, really quickly? Or I don't know if we did that in this show. I know we've done it in the past.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mateer's got a same offense coordinator from Washington State and Ben Arbuckle. That should help them hit the ground running. I just want to make sure that we hit on that if we hadn't already.
Yeah, we did. Tune into the show.
Here we go.
All right. That's our renovated segment. And again, like, we're thrilled to be partnered with the Home Depot, right? It's brought to you by the Home Depot, obviously. Whether you're making your home feel more like you, getting an outdoor space more like pink-shirted McShay, grinding it out with the pea gravel, or just setting up an awesome game day viewing experience. I think that's the next step for me. I love my office. I got a couple things I want to talk to the Home Depot about doing downstairs. All right. But the Home Depot, and trust me on this, they have everything you need in terms of like just getting the projects done in your house. And I mentioned to you too, the one thing I was shocked by, not only can you go in store and get help and go in the back, by the way, and get your lumber. If you're like me, like I lived in a city for a long time, being able to go there and get some stuff cut up for you, huge. Okay. All that, everything that you want, the Home Depot can provide. So get the Home Depot app and get fast and free delivery on thousands of items. I'm telling you, it bailed me out. Like, had I had to go stop down, sweating, bleeding from raking the stuff and go to the store to get it, like, it might have sent me over the edge. Over 2 million items are eligible for delivery. Okay.
Wow.
It's homedepot.com/delivery for details. You can find it all right there. homedepot.com/delivery. Okay. All right. So that's it for there. Now we're going to move on. We got 2 other teams to cover today. I can feel it in the air. Can't you? College football is back. And so is the full Saturday slate you've been waiting for. If you're like me, it'll start with Iowa State at Kansas State. By the way, in Dublin, Ireland, and it'll end with Stanford, Hawaii, and probably include every other game on the Saturday slate between. So no matter how much you take in on Saturday, FanDuel's got something for every kind of bettor. We're talking about 50% profit boost available on any college football bet type this Saturday. So whether you're tailing the favorites, hunting the upsets, or stacking props into a wild parlay, there's a way to play and get more out of it. It's all happening this weekend only on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel to download the app today and jump into the action. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Miami at 11. So we got Oklahoma at 12, Miami at 11. Give you a quick synopsis. 10-3 last year, 2024. 7 returning starters on offense, 8 returning starters on defense, which I find hard to believe because, like,
yeah, that seems wrong to me. But go ahead.
But because they're bringing in starters from other places. Carson Beck's a starter.
You made the distinction. Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
NFL, we always start with the NFL talent, right? Here's what we lost.
Right.
If you're Miami, and it's a good deal, but it's not debilitating. It's not like what Ohio State is losing and Alabama in certain years and Georgia and so on and so forth. They obviously lost the number 1 overall pick in Cam Ward. Elijah Arroyo, who's a 2nd-round draft pick, Seahawks at tight end. Loved him. Can't wait to see what he does there. Jalen Rivers along the offensive line. Francisco Mauioga, the linebacker. Tyler Barron, defensive end. Andres Borregales, the kicker to the Patriots in the 6th round. And Damian Martinez, running back to the Seahawks in the 7th round. But so 1, 2.
And Isaiah Horton, the receiver, transferred out, right?
Yes. So 7 guys drafted, but only 2 in the first 4 rounds. Okay. That's the difference. So Maui Noah at offensive tackle, Francisco Maui Noah.
No, it's Francis. His brother is this.
Yeah. You're right.
They're probably the most amazing people on the planet, but they trip me up on this all the time. It's Francisco Mauigoa.
I'm going off of our draft track.
Linebacker.
You plugged him in, you son of a bitch.
Who went out last year. And Francis.
Yeah.
Did I do it the wrong way?
Yes.
Francis Mauigoa is the right tackle.
And it's pronounced Maui Noah.
So Maui Noah.
I will not make that mistake.
Maui Noah.
Maui, now you know. Ruben Bain, the edge rusher, and Carson Beck, the quarterback. Again, all 3 could be in the top 100. I think if you start with this team, you got to start with they are as expected with a Mario Cristobal team, and they're loaded up front in the trenches on both sides. But let's not fool ourselves. The story is Carson Beck. Carson Beck transfers from Georgia. Georgia doesn't pony up the money to keep him there. We can make all the speculation we want in the world, but I also have sources. Like I just think it had run its course. I think Carson Beck has a certain type of personality. I think there was maybe some. I don't think in a Kirby
wasn't a good fit anymore.
It wasn't a good fit anymore. Very well put. So Carson Beck goes down to South Florida and he brings his Lamborghinis and he brought his famous girlfriend, and now he doesn't have that famous girlfriend, and the Cavender twins and all the social media stuff that comes with it and the TikTok dances. And then he gets the Ferrari stolen, or the Lamborghini stolen, and all of it. But what's happened now is there was this like peak of like, no wonder why Georgia wanted to get rid of him. He's a me guy. Look at this guy, social media, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it's kind of quiet. It's in the middle of summer and college football is kind of shut down for a few weeks. And now all of a sudden we're just a few days away. And every report I get, and now I'm making phone calls. Now I'm talking to scouts, and now I'm talking to people there. And it's like, hey, I don't care what Georgia said about him. I don't care what social media says about him. I don't care what people think of him. This guy's here and he's grinding. And he's working, and he likes this new system, and this new system likes him. He's decisive in practice. He's making reads faster. He's not making the receivers work. The receivers are actually very talented. Maybe that was the problem with Georgia. I don't know. I don't know what the problem was there. Here we got dudes, and dudes are in the right place. They're catching the foot. You know what I mean? So there's this whole like seismic shift of like a PR. Of like, wait a second.
Apparently he's healthy, by the way. I mean, that's
the jumping off point. Sorry. Yeah. And healthy. And he's been throwing like full go. And his balls his receivers aren't working the way. So now I haven't seen any of it. I'm just going off of what I'm hearing. I trust these sources, but it's practice and people have, agendas and all that. But if that's the case, man, do you remember the best of 2023, Beck?
Yeah.
It was so good that we went into last season. He's maybe a top 10 pick. Okay.
Right.
So now we've spent the whole summer talking about Arch Manning and maybe the 2027 draft, if it's not a little bit sooner, and Klubnik and Nussmeier and Sellers and Aller and Mendoza and Mateer. Nothing about Beck. It's like he's got this fresh slate, and now he's in Miami. And within Miami, right, he's got 3 returning starters along the offensive line, including Maui Noah, who's a monster. TCU transfer at center. Depth.
Good ad.
Cristobal unit. By the way, with Cristobal is also O-line coach Alex Mirabal. We talked about Biedenbow at Oklahoma. Mirabal's coached some freaking players too and knows what he's doing. He's pretty good. And what's critical for Beck, who's not the most mobile, who doesn't run like Sellers, who doesn't even run like Klubnik or Mendoza? Pass protection. So they're going to protect his ass up front. And now reports are he's more decisive. Ball's coming out. Knows where to go with the ball. Really likes this system. Okay? Wide receiver, it's a big unknown, just like it was at Georgia. We lost Isaiah Horton. Okay? We lost Arroyo. Elijah Arroyo. Restrepo we lost.
Yeah.
Program guy. 4.85 or not. Right? But now here's my information. JoJo Trader, 5-star sophomore, just 6 catches last year. Great camp. Nye Carr, 4-star, maybe 5-star by some people. I don't do the star things except 5-star for this show. And 5-star for Confess Fletch getting out of Ubers, okay? Nye Carr, Ray Joseph in the slot, a little bit of a weapon. This freshman, I'm just told in the last 72 hours as I'm making phone calls and texting, right? Malachi Toney, a true freshman. Those guys are all young cats. This guy's a true. Malachi Toney could be a difference maker. Keenan Marriott, really productive after the catch. That's 5 I've listed to you. Transfer, here's a 6. Transfer CJ Daniels.
I heard he's doing well, yeah.
Having a really good camp. You're hearing the same shit I am, right? Former at Liberty, then LSU, now Miami. Then we got this void at tight end. Yeah, we don't have Arroyo. We got another Elijah. We got another Elijah named Lofton. Really good camp, 6'3", 230, pass catcher. Just 9 for 150 last year, but there was no room to get on the field behind Elijah Arroyo.
There's a lot of buzz, though. There's a lot of buzz. He's the next great Miami guy.
Tight end.
Think about all the Miami tight ends. Yeah.
Penn State can stuff it up north, cold weather. Iowa beat it. This is the original tight end.
There's some good. Come on, man. They're all good.
In their mind,
love to go around.
The U.
Yeah, they've got some damn good tight ends come out of there, man.
This is the U. This is tight end U.
Yeah.
Then I'm hearing about another freshman on the other side of the ball. Actually, did I mention Joshua Moore? So 2 freshmen, I just heard. These are different conversations. Why I'm bouncing around a little. Different conversations. A couple freshmen really standing out in camp. In addition to all those guys I just said, Joshua Moore, big-bodied wide receiver, tough on contested catches. Then on the other side of the ball, and we'll use this to kick off the defensive side, Hayden Lowe, 6'5", 255, big-body defensive guy who's got some bend. All right?
Yeah.
Or I get in the defense. Anything else you want to add on offense for Miami?
Well, I just think it's going to be, something that's interesting to me is you are definitely rebuilding that passing game. But what's fascinating to me about that is when you have a new quarterback, it doesn't really matter how many new receivers you have because he hasn't worked with them anyways. So we can go over about all the receivers they lost. If you had the same returning quarterback, be like, well, now he's got to build up trust and momentum with that receiving core. Carson Beck never knew any of these guys anyway. So it doesn't matter if he was throwing to, Restrepo would come back. Obviously, Restrepo's a very good player. But what I'm saying is
yes, I hear you.
The chemistry part of it with having a new quarterback goes kind of out the window, which is nice for them. To me, their offensive line is going to be the strength, like you said. And they're Mark Fletcher at running back. They're going to run the ball. They're going to pound the ball.
Yep.
And they're going to take some pressure off of Beck, which is nice for him. I think that's perfect for him. Create some windows of play action, all of that stuff. The heart of this team, to me, is going to be run game, strong offensive line play, and then the defense is going to be good too. So that's their recipe for success in my mind. I mean, it doesn't mean that Carson Beck's not going to have a great year and those guys aren't going to make plays. I think the identity of that team is going to be the ground game and good defense.
Carson Beck is at his best off of play action, and this with Cristobal, Mirabal, the transfer, the young guys.
Not a knock,
up.
By the way. That's the pro game. Like it's not a knock.
Jared Goff is like bingo, right?
Yes. Yep.
So it's set up for success for Beck. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yes.
I mentioned Hayden Lowe, edge rusher on the defensive side. Defensively for Miami, and you just talked about how this is a really good defense. And it's hard to envision this being a really good defense after the slop we watched last year. But it's important to start here. New defensive coordinator brings a new mentality to this defense, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm choosing my words carefully, on purpose, with intention. Corey Heatherman was a defensive coordinator at Minnesota. Prior to that, it was JMU. Prior to that, it was at Maine.
Right.
You get where I'm going?
I think there was like a Rutgers linebacker running there. Yeah. Yeah. It 1 year at Minnesota. Yeah.
We played Maine. We played JMU, not even when they were at their best. We know about those tough, hard nose, overachieve, and then JMU started to get players to go with and all the movement there. Minnesota, same deal. Not getting the best Big Ten players, but my goodness, they'll hit you. And so now
no one wants to play them.
Now you got all this like 5-star, 4-star Cristobal is bringing in, and you got a guy in Heatherman who may be like bursting onto the scene nationally. Because if you can take those athletes, those players, and get him to play a brand of football he's used to playing, this could be fun to watch. Okay.
Right.
Obviously, Ruben Bain, we've talked a lot about,
love him.
Even in the top 5 prospects heading in the season on the defensive side. Ruben Bain is in the mix. Other edge that I'm hearing good stuff about is Akeem Mesidor. Okay. Then they get these 2 5-star defensive tackles that were from last year's class that they're expecting a lot of. But we'll see. Justin Scott and Armando Blunt. They got a Louisiana Tech transfer also along the defense.
Is he a stud?
I don't know. These are just notes I'm getting from talking to my sources.
He's watch out for David Blade Jr., man. Keep that name in mind.
Yes, Blade. Yes. I didn't write it down, but I remember actually hearing in that conversation. There's the La Tech guy. They lost 2 starters at linebacker, but their number 2 tackler, Wesley Bissainthe, returns.
Yeah, I don't know how you say that.
Bissainthe. And they added Charles Brantley, who had 23 starts at Michigan State, and Mohamed Toure, who had 93 tackles and 4.5 sacks for Rutgers in 2023, is what my note says.
Yeah, also he was hurt last year.
That's what it was.
Good player, man. Good player if he's healthy.
Right?
Again, I say this, I should be careful because this was obviously the Achilles heel for the 2024 Miami Hurricanes was their defense. I mean, we all know that was their Achilles heel. I mean, and maybe I shouldn't be jumping to the conclusion of that this is going to be a much better defense. I just look at that talent, I look at that coordinator, and I look who they brought in.
We're painting a picture where it's like,
feel good about it.
Yes.
I feel good about it. And talk about also Home Depot renovation, by the way.
Yeah.
You get into that secondary yet? Because that's a Home Depot renovation.
6 DBs in the transfer portal is my next note. Expected to be maybe their best group in terms of the 3 levels of the defense. They think they brought it. And there's one name that I was told to keep an eye on. He's having a really strong camp. Jabari Antoine, cornerback.
Okay.
So, the schedule. It's manageable.
It's manageable.
We just did Oklahoma. I'm going to spoiler alert on my number 10 team in the country, not off where I think they're going to finish, but where I think they are personnel and the momentum they have coming into the year is Florida. And that's a nightmare schedule too. This is manageable with all this talent, with Carson Beck coming in. You do have Notre Dame on the 31st. Okay. And then you get Florida on the 20th. It's going to be I can't wait to see that game.
Yes.
This Miami team.
Florida's going to be pissed off after last year, by the way.
Pissed off about last year. And before they're going through the gauntlet and the nicks and the bumps and the bruises and what is inevitable from their schedule later in the season. That's a fresh, hungry, pissed Florida team against a healthy Miami team on both sides of the ball with Carson Beck. But then after that, it's kind of manageable. The next big ones are you get Florida State on October 4th. Then you get a bye. Then you get Louisville. Good team, but we're not talking top 10 on October 17th. Then there's this run, and it's like you start in November, right? There's 5 games in November. All conference games, all good opponents. SMU's the toughest one of the bunch. So you go in kind of fresh and you get SMU right off the – so that's a huge game. Mark that one, conference play in the ACC, November 1st. But then it's Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. All good programs.
Manageable.
But very manageable by the standards that we're seeing with all these mega conferences. We've grouped them up into 4, right? Like 4 conferences. You're playing like – whether it's Michigan, Ohio State, and USC, and
Oregon,
Oregon, right? Thank you. And the SEC, like I could list 10 right now. So this is manageable. There's no Clemson.
I agree.
Here. There's no Clemson. Okay. So
I think there's a needle they could thread where they lose to Florida and they lose to Notre Dame, and they still end up getting in that ACC championship. I think that could happen.
Well, neither of those are conference games, so of course,
they
win.
You get Clemson.
So
it is manageable.
It's manageable.
One thing I got to throw at you.
Yes.
Are we worried about Mario Cristobal's game management at all?
Absolutely.
2 years. I am. I just got to say it. I am, because I think that if you're going to be a team that's going to be this competitive, you're going to find yourself, and they have. You think about Georgia in close games where that stuff matters. And you think about Georgia Tech 2 years ago when they could have just taken a knee, they run the ball, they fumble, they lose that game. And then, not as egregious as that decision, but the decision last year to kick a field goal, 4th down, less than 4 minutes left against a Syracuse team that's been running it up and down the field on you, potentially, I mean, who knows how that decision would have panned out. But if you go for a touchdown or you go for a thing, you get a penalty, maybe you get a first down, or you tie that game, you get into overtime or whatever, you give yourself a better chance of winning it. They kicked the field goal, they never got the ball back. That cost them a chance at the playoffs, I believe. So when you're talking about some of the game management stuff over the last 2 years has been concerning. He's an outstanding recruiter and he's an outstanding player development coach. The game management stuff scares me a little bit. And I did look at that. When I was looking at these teams, I'm looking at the coaching staff and what kind of decisions they're going to make, what kind of battles they've been in. That one for me is a little bit of a, it's not at the end of the world, but it's something to keep an eye on, is that game management stuff.
I don't disagree, but I have nothing more to add. Yeah, I think you nailed it appropriately. And it's also like, I'd like to do on shows something that fans maybe don't know. And I think Miami, that's probably one of the biggest things, that if they're to file a complaint with all the wonderful recruiting and everything else, and the offensive line coaching and play and the physicality and all those things, that's definitely the complaint that would be filed. All right, number 10. And I already gave you the spoiler alert. So Florida Gators at number 10. And again, I am not basing this off of the schedule and where I think they're going to finish. I don't think anyone in the world, I don't have an ego to think that anyone in the world is going to remember that I had them at 10 or 30 in the preseason. This is about, when I look at this personnel and I look at the momentum from last year, I don't know. I can tell you this, there was not a more inspiring coaching job than the one done by Billy Napier in Gainesville last year. Call it the best in the second half of the year, whatever you want to do. But they started 4-5 and he was gone. You know, with those chat boards.
Some of the social media clips of him getting yelled at leaving the field were very
vicious. Then they went on to win 4 straight, including the Gasparilla Bowl. And you say, well, it was Tulane. But you know how hard it is to get SEC players to get up, show up,
for the Gasparilla Bowl,
and play hard for the Gasparilla Bowl? Ain't easy.
Can I say something else too? Because you've already brought it up, and I would counter, because I think some people don't believe this thing, and there's an argument for it. But what does last year have to do with this year in terms of momentum? I think it's a thing. I think it is a thing. I think when you end the way that Florida did, with the way they won the last 4 games with 2 big wins, I think you look at that. One of them was Ole Miss. The other one maybe LSU. But they had the 2 big wins out of the last 4. You look at the way that team ended. You have a young quarterback. That momentum matters, I think. I think when you're coming into this year, you feel better about what you are as a team based on what you did at the end of last year.
And it matters because buy-in is so hard to get when you're on the chopping block. And
Right.
those players are on social media just as much as the fans that are screaming. Okay? To keep
And good for them not firing him, by the way. It would have been so easy to have fired him. And that program's got kind of a history of doing that, of just parting ways with head coaches since Urban Meyer. I think Dan Mullen comes to mind, and you could say Dan Mullen didn't do much to help himself. But, there's a quick trigger in Gainesville, man. You're either Spurrier or Meyer or you're not here for long. And it's not easy to win in that conference at that school either. They've done some really nice things with those two head coaches, but it's tough, man. And I think you have to be a special kind of human being to do it. And Billy Napier's that guy to stay steady when there's a big storm swirling around you.
Culture is the most overused and borderline nauseating word now in football and in sports, because it's not used properly. If you want to show me culture, show me when the coach is done. Everyone agrees they're just tearing him apart. Every avenue they have to get to him, around him, every ear, every opinion he's gone. And to be able to get 18 to 22-year-old kids who are now making money, some of them more than a lot of the coaches on the staff, to get them to stay committed and to grind. So I think we've covered all that. NFL talent lost. You look at it, you're like 7 players. That's a decent amount. None of them in the first 3 rounds. All right. Shamiri DK was a wide receiver, the first guy drafted in the 4th round by the Titans. Okay. One of the 7 was a punter, 4 of them on the defensive side where they're still loaded. Cam Jackson, Jason Marshall, defensive tackle, defensive back, and Shamar James, a linebacker by the Panthers, Dolphins, and Cowboys, respectively. Graham Merz, essentially their backup quarterback, who got drafted in the 6th round. Okay. Then the Crawshaw, the punter by the Broncos, and then Bridges, the defensive back in the 7th round, pick 256 right at the end. So we're not talking about being decimated by any stretch. NFL prospects this year. They've got some dudes, man. Caleb Banks.
Yeah, they do.
Defensive lineman. I think he's the best interior defensive lineman, at least in the SEC. One of the top 3 in the country. Austin Barber at tackle. Jake Slaughter, Florida. Jake Slaughter at center. Tyreek Sapp, edge. Trenches. Again, just like Miami, okay, just like Oklahoma with their renovated trenches, they're built where it matters. But they really are one of the best teams in the country along the line of scrimmage. Them and Miami are 2 of the best in the country along the line of scrimmage, both sides. None of it matters if DJ Lagway isn't healthy and play to the level. DJ Lagway on a team last year that wasn't there, that was young, that had a bunch of freshmen and young guys out there who didn't know what was going on necessarily compared to what he will know now. They were beating Georgia at halftime.
On the ropes, man.
On the ropes. And then he got injured. Right. So he had the hamstring last year that knocked him out and shocked us all when he came back. When he got taken off the field for the year minimum, comes back a few weeks later. But now he's dealing with a calf strain, right? Reportedly recovering well. Missed some practice time early in fall camp. Initially, he was in a walking boot. Now, get back on the chat lines, get the comments, and everyone, the season's over. So, he was in a boot, precautionary, but he's been seen throwing, progressing positively. Napier feels good about it. He's on schedule, all that stuff. Talk to someone there. They feel very confident. He will be in there starting and full go, not just like grinding it out. They would, if he's still dealing with it, he ain't starting against LIU on August 30th.
No.
They think he's going to be. That's where it's tracking.
It's nice to have that cushion, but still, I'd like to see him on the field.
Wonderful news if that's the case, hopefully. But you get nervous when you got a guy who's had a couple injuries and quite frankly, the whole organization, if you will, is resting on this young man's shoulders. They're awesome in a lot of different places. Doesn't matter if you don't have the guy at quarterback. And he's the guy to a level that if he elevates, man, maybe they are a top 10 team even after the gauntlet. Okay?
I don't disagree.
Let's just get it out of the way. It's the elephant in the room. LIU and USF start the season. Nice warm-ups. Nice little preseason training camp. I'm sure people of those programs would not like to hear that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's fair.
But then it goes LSU on September 13th, and then right back at it with that Miami game we just talked about. Then
we already know the LSU game is 7:30, by the way, in Baton Rouge, and the Miami game is at Miami as well. But go ahead.
No, those are important notes that you just gave me. At LSU night game, at Miami. Then you get a bye, so that's good. You can like regroup, right? All right. Let's try. Maybe we're 3-1. God willing, we're 4-0. Take a breath. Then it's Texas and Texas A&M back to back. Then Georgia November 4th. Then 3 straight weeks in November to finish the regular season of Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida State. I don't know what you're getting, but it could be a damn good Florida State team for all we know at this point. So that's that. And that's why people are cowards and are saying that they don't belong in the top 15. I've seen people like they've got them at like 23. I've seen some people talk about and they're not in their top 25. How with a healthy Lagway and Caleb Banks and Tyreek Sapp on the defensive line and Austin Barber and Jake Slaughter anchoring offensive line, they've got 4 returning starters in the offensive line, Mensch. Okay?
Yeah.
Their run game with Napier.
And by the way, the other starter played a lot of snaps at guard last year. He's going to play right tackle, but he played a lot of snaps and played well last year. He's not that as green as some first-year starters might be. He reminds me of the Goolsby guy in Texas. He's played some real football. It's going to be, I mean, that offensive line's loaded. So,
in Napier, we know like they're going to run the football. And he likes to have 3 running backs. He likes to rotate them. Like last year, they had 3 different backs. It was
Montrell Johnson,
Jaden Baugh, Jacoby Jackson, and Montrell Johnson.
Yeah.
All 3 had a minimum of 95. I don't think any of them had 140. They were all in that. Like he likes to keep them fresh. Run game's critical, and you have a quarterback that can run, so that's an added element. He was those 4 guys were the top 4 rushers, along with Lagway, right? So Montrell Johnson's out, but they've got their 2 guys. Now there's a handful. I've talked to people at Florida. There's a few guys that are competing still. They haven't nailed down who that number 3 guy is, and that's important in their program. I can't understate that. They got to have their 3. They got their 2. And there's candidates and worthy, but they're like, who's going to get that 3rd? Last year, it was Jacoby Jackson, I believe, who got the 95 carries, the fewest of the 3. They want to find out who's that next guy up is. Okay. But
because you don't want, listen, if you got a fresh 231-pound Jaden Baugh coming at you at the end of the game, and he's got some juice, and that offensive line's been leaning on you, and it's been hot and humid. Have fun, man. Have fun. Good luck tackling
that's the whole nature of the beast with Napier in that offense. And so you got Baugh and Jackson, who like dynamic playmakers, downhill, decisive, like hit it and go. All right. They combined for 228 carries, those 2 guys, both over 5 yards per carry and 7 rushing touchdowns each. Defensive side, I talked about Caleb Banks and Tyreek Sapp. We did a whole portion of a show earlier in the year about Caleb Banks. I think he might be the most disruptive 3-technique interior defensive lineman in the country. Absolutely love him. Think he legitimately could be a top 7 pick. Let's call it top 10 pick at this point. But Sapp has got 7 sacks and 13 tackles for loss last year. They also have this guy named George Gums and another guy named.
I feel like Sapp's about to go off. By the way, he's talented, man.
Yes,
I feel like this is going to be. He had a good year last year, started to turn it on, and I think this year he's gonna take that next step.
So I want you to hear these names because I'm not pulling them out of a hat or reading them off of some depth chart. George Gums, L.J. McCray, Jamari Lyons, and then this highly touted potential riser in Cameron James, okay? And Lyons is the one I'm told, just keep an eye on him, okay? Jamari Lyons. Missed all of 2024, serious lower body injury that he sustained actually in fall scrimmage, the first fall scrimmage last year.
Yeah, there's a dislocated ankle maybe. Yeah.
Huge blow. But now he's ready to have his breakout year that was supposed to be 2023. He's healthier each day, becoming an important part. There's some inexperience, but there's no shortage of talent. And I think he could be a guy that you watch along with obviously Banks and Sapp, but all of those guys. It's going to be a deeper rotation. Inexperience in some spots, but they've got talent. Linebacker. Similar talent last year, similar players, but just more experience this year. Miles Graham, Aaron Childs. Then they got the nickelbacks, the stars, whatever you want to call them, Sharif Denson and Aaron Gates. Those are the guys. Those are the dudes that are going to be out there making plays. They feel good about the linebacker core, and they think that this defensive back group could be even better than it was last year. And it was pretty good, but they had some injuries and some stuff they dealt with. Devin Moore was one of the injuries. He's returning at cornerback. Dijon Johnson's another returning starter at corner. Both safeties, Bryce Thornton and Jordan Castell returned. So they think that group's going to be pretty good.
I like it. I'll tell you one other injury you got to keep an eye on is the Dallas Wilson, the freshman wide receiver, who's going to be a stud. But if I'm getting this right, my understanding is he's a little banged up right now. I might even be wearing a cast. And now how long it takes him to get back is something to keep an eye on. But I thought the J. Michael Sertivin transfer from UCLA, that was a nice get for them at wide receiver.
Yes, he's a good
nice
player.
Pickup.
Wilson's the one we talked about earlier. I forget what show it was, but he had 195 yards and 10 catches and 2 touchdowns in the spring game.
Right. I want to see the true freshman healthy, though. Dallas Wilson can do some damage. He'll be fun to watch as long as he's 100%,
All right, this is an awesome start. College football rankings. We get the Home Depot involved. We're off and running, man. I got my pink summer shirt on, but I got to trade it in for my hoodies as we get serious now and we drill down inside the top 10. We're back on Friday. 3 more shows next week. We got college football on Saturday. It's all happening, and we got 5 stars, Mensch.
5 stars.
All right, later. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. Or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.